TechieShare, your online classroom.
Welcome back to this Angular tutorial. In this video, I am going to explain why we go for two-way data binding in Angular and how to perform two-way data binding using ngModel directive. In this video, I will explain two-way data binding in detailed manner, such as I will cover the short summary of property binding and event binding. After that, I will cover the exact need of two-way data binding and why we go for two-way data binding. Finally, the syntax of two-way data binding and how to perform two-way data binding using ngModel directive in Angular. So don't miss the video. Let's dive into the concept. Property binding, nothing but sharing the data from model to UI. Whenever the data changes in your model, the changes should be reflected in your UI, right? For that, we go for property binding. So the property binding syntax will be square bracket of property and right side will be the property value which should be created in your component TS file. Whenever the changes occurred in your model, the respective changes will be reflected using property binding. Event binding. Whenever the user interact with your application, like the user performs some click event or some mouse down events or change events, there will be some event generates, right? These events need to be handled and perform some action, right? For that, the event binding come into the picture. So the event binding syntax will be square round braces of event and right side will be the event function. Whenever the particular event fired, the Angular will execute the target event function which you have mentioned in your event binding. So like if click event perform means the particular click event function will be executed in your model. So don't forget that the target event function should be created in your model file. Now we have an idea about property binding and event binding, right? Why we go for two-way data binding? If you want to share the data from your model to UI means you have to perform property binding. At the same way, if you want to catch some events from your UI and perform some actions means you have to perform event binding, right? For making two-way communication, you have to perform two events, but we can make this as a one. For that, we go for two-way data binding. In two-way data binding, we can perform the changes between model to UI and UI to model in single function. Like we can perform event binding and property binding in a single unit. For that, we go for two-way data binding. In simple words, we can say like combination of property binding and event binding will be as a two-way data binding. So we can perform the property binding as well as the event binding. Like we can catch the events and change the particular data in your model. At the same way, you can transfer the data from your model to your target UI using property binding. So both unit will be as a single one. So for that, we go for two-way data binding. So let's dive into the syntax of two-way data binding. The syntax will be banana bracket of surrounds with banana bracket and inside your target two-way data binding. Here I will explain ngModel two-way data binding. So ngModel nothing but ngModel is a directive. It perform two-way data binding in Angular. It provides Angular by default. That's what we go for ngModel directive. So here I am just creating one input element. After that, I'm just performing one property binding, so nothing but I'm just performing one value and assigning some value in the property. So the property will be username. So this username should be created in my component TS file, right? So after that, I'm just performing some input event. So I'm going to perform event binding. In this event binding, I'm just assigning the value of username. Whenever the input field is changed, the particular value should be assigned to my username. For that, I'm just assigning event.target.value will be assigned to my username whenever the input event fired. So I have to create this username in my component TS file. After that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one div element. Inside a div element, I'm just showing the particular username value. So we can able to see the value, right? For that, I'm just performing input string interpolation. After that, I'm just assigning the username value here. This username, I already told you, right? Need to create in my component TS file. For that, I'm just creating the username property here and type will be string. As of now, I'm just keeping this as a string. So I'm just mentioning the type will be string, and also I'm just assigning the username value as empty. So that's it. Let's check the application. So for that I am just typing ngserve command in my CMD. The server was started, so but there is some issue, right? The application was not yet compiled successfully. Yeah, we got the issues. I forgot to surrounds with double quote for my input event binding, so I am just opening my component HTML and surrounds with double quote. That was the issue. Yeah, now we can check the application. If it works. If I'm changing anything, the particular value will be reflected in my model, nothing but my username property using two function, property binding as well as event binding, right? But these are two function, we can make these two function into one. For that we go for two-way data binding. The syntax will be, I already told you, the syntax will be banana bracket. So banana bracket nothing but inside the property binding we can just make it as a event binding. So square bracket of round braces. After that, inside that we can just mention ngModel. This is a directive which provide Angular by default for perform two-way data binding. So after that I am just assigning the target property which I have created in my model. So the target property will be username. That's it. So this is a simple setup for two-way data binding for performing event binding as well as property binding. Anyway, let's check. But there is some issues in the implementation. Why? Because ngModel directive provided by forms module. So for that we have to import forms module in your app module. So I'm going to import forms module in my app module. For that I'm just opening the app module TS file. Inside that I'm going to import the forms module. The forms module will be available in Angular forms. For that I'm just importing forms module. It's from @Angular forms. So I'm just typing from single quotes, surrounds with single quotes @Angular forms. So the forms module is available from Angular forms. So I'm just selecting Angular forms here. After that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to import this forms module in my imports array. For that I'm just copying the content and paste it here. So that's it. Let's check the application. If I am typing something in the text box, the respective data was displayed here, right? The same result which we got using property binding and event binding earlier, but now we just perform two-way data binding. In reality, Angular internally handles the property binding and event binding for us using ngModel directive. It reduces lot of works for us, right? That's all about two-way data binding. In this video, if you are having any doubt or if you are facing any issues, please leave the comment. If you feel the video content is good, please like and share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. By the way, this is Manikandan signing off. Have a happy coding.